Hi, everyone, and welcome to Women's Health Conversations. I'm Denise Louie, and with me today is the founder of Women's Health Conversations, Dr. Vonda Wright, and our very special guest today, Sanjeev Javia, of the CEO and founder of PRōZE. So, wanted to let you know that today's session is live, and we welcome your questions and toward the end of the session, and I will appear back then to tee those up, and we welcome you. And I will let the two of you guys chat. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Vonda Wright, and I am once again in my office. And I am so psyched today to be joined by a longtime friend of mine, Sanjeev Javia. However, all of his friends call him Jeevers, and you may have seen him in social media under the moniker of Ask Jeevers. Today, we are going to unwind the mystery of CBD. Now, the reason that Jeevers can join us today is because he not only is a businessman with an MBA from Thunderbird in Arizona, which is a huge international business school, but he has formulated more than 300 supplements and products which are currently on the market, and he's meticulous when it comes to purity and only the right ingredients, because I don't have to tell you that there's a lot of unregulation going on when it comes to supplements, and it is important that the formulators have the highest standards, and I know that Jeevers has that. So welcome to Women's Health Conversations today, Jeevers, and thank you for being willing to unwind for us the mystery of CBD, which is the hot topic right now, right? So welcome.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Dr. Wright. What an honor to be on Women's Conversations virtually, because I was so fortunate to be there actually at the conference.
I know,
it feels
really
like
early.
Just a little bit ago, but it's been a bit.
It's been, I think you were with us in 2013 or 14. It was in our early days. I know. We've been going a long time with this. And so, well, we're happy to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you.
So, if you guys are Googling around while we're talking, which, you know what, we're a digital generation, I do not mind. You can go see what he has built while we're talking. The current CBD product line is called PRōZE, P-R-O-Z-E. And I'm going to hold this down. This is not an advertisement, but you guys can go look. It starts over here, P-R-O-Z-E, and on social media. But let's get right down to it, Jeevers. Okay, I want you, and unwrap it for me, because I'm an expert in a lot of orthopedics, but I am not an expert in supplements. And I know I've asked you some really basic questions about what is CBD? Am I going to become addicted? How could I possibly give it to pro athletes not knowing? So unwrap it for me and help us all understand it is not marijuana.
Yes, yes. These are great questions, and they're questions that everybody has, especially because it is so closely linked to a plant and to an ingredient that does have some negative connotations as far as being a psychoactive and being something that gets you high. And so let's take a step back and find out, okay, what really is CBD? Okay, right?
Yeah.
So here's how I like to explain it is, think of CBD as it's a nutrient. CBD is a nutrient just like vitamin C is a nutrient. And THC, which is the one that a lot of people associate some negativity towards, which is the psychoactive, the nutrient that affects the brain that gets you high, let's call that vitamin A, okay, right? And so we've got vitamin C.
Not really vitamin A.
Not really vitamin
A. Okay.
Let's just think of it as like, okay, so most people understand, okay, there's a thing called vitamin C and there's a thing called vitamin A, okay, right? They don't see vitamin C and vitamin A growing on a tree. They don't pick up vitamin C and vitamin A from the soil, but what they do is they pick up certain plants, or let's just say fruits, that do have vitamin A and vitamin C, okay, right? So let's take a look at a plant, okay, right? And let's actually take two of them, okay, right? There's a plant called marijuana, and then there's also another plant called hemp. Now, they're two completely separate plants, just as a lemon tree is completely separate as an orange tree. Now, the thing about a lemon and an orange tree is they come from the same family of plants, which is a citrus family. Okay, right? Well, this is now an understanding of like, okay, so there's a Cannabaceae family of plants. It has a hemp plant and it has a marijuana plant. Okay, right? Now, in those plants, there's nutrients. And there's a CBD nutrient and there's a THC nutrient, just like there is a vitamin C nutrient in an orange and a vitamin A nutrient in an orange, as well as a lemon. It just so happens, though, that an orange and a lemon will have different concentrations of those nutrients. So now we get to really the differences between these two plants called hemp and marijuana. Marijuana has a whole lot of THC. You grow marijuana because you want a lot of THC. You cultivate marijuana because you want a lot of THC. And there's all these scientists and farmers out there who are finding various strains to have a lot of THC in that marijuana plant. But that's different than this hemp plant, which is all about CBD. Okay, right? And so you're growing the hemp plant not because you want any THC or very tiny, tiny amounts. You want a lot of CBD. And that's why you're hearing, yes, you're hearing about this amazing nutrient called CBD, but you're also hearing about this plant called hemp because that's where you're actually extracting that CBD from. Does that make sense?
Got it. So we are only interested in the hemp plant, which is also a fibrous plant. We make clothes out of it, lots of different applications, because hemp contains a very large percentage of CBD, which is a nutrient, as you're describing it, right? Did I get it right?
Exactly, exactly. When you think of CBD as just a nutrient that's found in this plant. And when you kind of think of that, now you can kind of understand. That's why I always associate it to like a vitamin, because it's not like CBD is a plant. It's not like CBD is a fruit, CBD is a root or anything. It just happens to be a nutrient that's found in a plant
called hemp.
And there's other there's other plants that may not have CBD, but there's other plants that have other CBD-like nutrients, like cacao, like kava, like echinacea, like hops. See, that's why there's other plants that have nutrients like CBD, you know?
Got it. So then we've got the hemp, we've got the goal of getting the CBD nutrient. Why? What is it about this family that's just, it's an ancient plant. I mean, it's described in Egyptian literature, but why now? What is the new interest? And it can't possibly blanket so many receptors in our body that it does everything. So let's just talk about CBD. We've identified it. It comes from hemp. We know it's our goal. The goal is medicinal, not high. Why now? What is this right now?
Yeah, that's a really great point. So, just like you said, hemp is nothing new to the world. CBD is nothing new to the world. It may be new to the Western side of the world, but as you mentioned, for 10,000 years, it's been used in Chinese traditional medicine. It's been used in Ayurvedic medicine. It's one of the 32 sacred herbs of Chinese traditional medicine. It's used in all of the elixirs, or most of the elixirs that are found in Ayurvedic. Hemp is not new. And the reason why, by the way, I'm less talking about CBD is because remember what we talked about earlier. It's not about CBD. It's about where it comes from. And in these kind of traditional philosophies of health, they're not fractionating medicine as what we do, where we take white willow bark and we extract a certain nutrient from it and we make aspirin. That's not what the East does. They just take the white willow bark. Here they just take hemp, right? And so it's been used forever for a lot of different reasons. Now, how it has come to the US or the Western side, a lot of it has to do with the fact that now it's become unrestricted, okay, right? Is because do remember, you know, in the 1930s, there was a restriction on cannabis, and cannabis included hemp and marijuana. And we don't have to go into why that was as far as being a biodiesel. Like you mentioned earlier, it was used for clothes and cloth and rope. Well, guess what? So was cotton. And so it threatened the cotton industry. They realized Henry Ford and diesel found that you could take it and make it a biodiesel now to threaten the petroleum industry. And so there was all of this stuff that was going on that said, hey, listen, you know what? We're going to make a war on drugs anyways, on opium. Let's take this marijuana and let's also lump that in there. And by the way, this hemp over here that's kind of killing a few industries, let's lump that in there. And so now all of a sudden you couldn't do anything in the US with hemp or marijuana. And so then what are you going to do? There's no research. No, now Israel's doing the research. Now Europe's doing the research. Now Germany's doing the research. And there's nothing here in the US. And so now all of a sudden it begins to open up because there becomes kind of this groundswell of natural holistic medicine, right? I mean, do remember in the 1900s, you know, hemp was a vial that was used by all of you doctors as an antidote for many different types of things. And so therefore people begin to be like, hey, listen, wait a second. There's a lot of good research about what's happening with now. It started with marijuana, obviously, THC and pain and things like that, right? And then all of a sudden CBD became something like, well, wait a second, this actually helps with brain health. And then all of a sudden the FDA started to produce drugs based on CBD, right? And then it became like, well, wait a second, big pharma, you can't just have this. We want it. That's the, and there's a whole other story there, but that's why you're hearing more of it, doctor, right? Is that now it's become legitimized for two reasons. The first reason is this, is in 1995 or the 1990s, if you will, okay, right? All of a sudden, there in Israel, Dr. Mechoulam, the scientist there, finally validated where CBD was actually acting in the body. And this is huge, guys. This is the most important part, okay, right? Everybody talks about CBD, but really the star of the show is the endocannabinoid system. This is an innate system in which you are born with that has one purpose and only one purpose at all. That doesn't make sense. One purpose at all is that it provides the body homeostasis. Mm-hmm. It provides the body balance. Okay, right? And this is a key point. And the reason why this is a key point, we'll get to it, is that this is why Dr. Wright's saying, listen, Jeevers, why are people talking about this like it's a panacea? It does everything from pain, it does anxiety, it does depression, it does this. How does one thing do all of this? Well, one thing doesn't do all of it, right? What it does is it says, okay, I'm going to feed this system that allows the body balance and efficiency. And because I give it balance and efficiency, all of the things that are upregulated, downregulated, overstimulated, understimulated, all that, it now becomes into balance. And then you see the symptoms of that, which is all of these things that people start talking about. So this endocannabinoid system is huge because number one, think about it. All of the, this is kind of a running joke, if you will, or whatever, is that all of the research, all of the money, all of this stuff that's been put into our bodies and learning about our bodies, like in 1990, they just realized there was an endocannabinoid system. Like this is like, oh my gosh, you know what, Dr. Monda? Crazy thing. I know you went to school a little earlier. We just found this thing called the endocrine system. And we didn't even realize it existed. And it actually works on hormones. This is where it gets like, wow, I can't believe it, you know?
Well, and so what you're describing is like a perfect timing storm. And it's not surprising that it took a long time to discover the endocannabinoid system, which is the umbrella for a lot of downstream actions. It's the same boat I'm in when I talk about you know, if you want to cure a lot of disease, you invest in mobility. You get moving, right? Because it's not the mobility, it's not the 1,000 steps. It is what it does to the whole system and the downstream actions. So the thing is, the reason I didn't know all the politics, that is very fascinating as influencers into medicine. But the reason, another reason probably why, you know, we're like, ding, ding, 1990s, there's this entire system that we can affect from above and it has all these downstreams, is because medicine is so compartmentalized, right? If you are a pancreatic surgeon, you just operate on the pancreatic duct, which is so small, right? If you're a knee surgeon, you only do knees. I mean, we are so segmented. There were very few until right now thinking about the body as a system, and you cannot silo the human body into parts because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Everything talks to each other. You can't tweak your ear without feeling the pain in your brain, right? It's not your ear that's feeling, it's your brain that's telling you that your ear, right? I think it's the perfect storm of timing too, don't you?
You're right. You're right. There is so much of a conversations now going on about, hey, wait a second, you know, the body does work together. Everything does work on a system. You have to give it a multidisciplinary approach in getting greater health. But I will say, you know, two things, you know, physicians especially, they have to learn so much, you know, about this one area. It's like I get a lot of people saying, you know, why don't doctors know more about this? Why don't I'm like, dude, do you know how much doctors have to know about this one area?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
one thing.
Yes,
Yeah. It's
right.
like, yeah, how do you expect them to know about everything, you know, right? It's hard enough just to know. And then the second thing is that, you know, unfortunately, you don't go to a doctor for preventative measures. You don't go to Dr. Wright and say, hey, doc, you know what? Just the other day, I kind of tweaked my shoulder a little bit. It kind of hurts, but not too much. You mind taking a look at it or whatever? Hey, no, you wait 2 months. You then go see Dr. Wright and say, hey, Dr. Wright, my shoulder, man, I must have tweaked it probably 2.5 months ago. And I've been working out and crazy. And by the way, I'm a bricklayer and I got to go to work on Monday. And so do something for me, you know? Well, I'm sorry, CBD or other nutritional holistic, it doesn't work like that. You have to give, these things are powerful on a compounding effect. They work beautifully when you give your body time, when you give it patience, when you also do a lot of other things as well too. I don't think it's a panacea. I don't think this is a wonder ingredient. It's an amazing ingredient, but it's not the only amazing ingredient, right? It is an element of nature. It is not nature, you know, all of nature. And so it's just the thing I like about this particular ingredient is what you mentioned earlier, is that, you know, unlike, you know, the other things I work with, you know, beta glucan and resveratrol and turmeric and such, it's nice to have an ingredient that works directly on an innate system that focuses on this balance and homeostasis. It allows the endocrine and the immune and the central nervous system to work more efficiently. And at the very end of the day, that's what you're trying to do, right, Dr. Wright? Is that you want the body to work efficiently, therefore conserving energy. As you conserve energy, you create greater healing, you know?
Yes. Well, so something you said gave me another thought, and that is, if we have CBD as a homeostasis driver, I've noticed in the things that you formulate, you did not hand us a bottle of CBD pure extract. You handed us CBD plus this complement, CBD plus this complement, asking multiple systems to work together towards a goal. So explain to me how a formulator comes up with supplements. What's that thought process? Walk us through the process and comment on the safety, because I've asked you about that a lot. So let's pivot a little bit to that.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So so here's the thing, you know, here's some words I always use. You know, I always say that, you know, you are not you are not part of nature, you are nature. Okay, right? And if you want true healing, you must be aligned with nature. And in nature, it never gives you one ingredient. It never gives you one plant. And that's a lot to do with what you mentioned, is that you have a lot of different systems that all need to begin to work together, and their root causes. See, everyone focuses on symptoms, but I don't care about symptoms, because symptoms are just manifestations of your weakest vulnerability. It's kind of like when I was in Beijing for a month studying medicine and Chinese traditional medicine. And we'll know this example of when you're in China and you talk, oh, I have cancer. They're like, okay, awesome, great. You've got cancer. Great. Let's go at it. Because what you've done in a more joyous fashion than here, which is, oh my gosh, you have cancer. Okay, gosh, you have cancer. I don't know, what are we going to do? Oh my gosh, it's despair. And the reason for that is because what they're saying, finally your body has cried out and given you a sign that you are misaligned. So therefore, let's bring the body into alignment. Let's bring it into the right chi, the right energy, the right hot and cold. They're like, thank goodness you got a sign, because many times you may not get a sign. Here, we worry about the sign, okay, right? And the reason for that is because, understandably, is that when you're worrying about the sign, you start have to figuring out, oh my gosh, where did this sign come from? And so you're trying this, and you're trying this, and you're trying this. Mm-hmm. Here, they're saying, no, we knew where the sign came from. It came from the root issue, so let's just kind of feed the root of this tree. As we feed the root of this tree, then those leaves that need to get healthy will get healthy. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is that that's essentially what we're doing with nutrition and nature. And that's why my formulations have always been two things, okay, right? My mentor always said, the innovation is in the combination. And what he meant by that is, Jeevers, use many different proven nutrients and ingredients, bring them together, and do something innovative with them through your philosophy. Mm-hmm. And what that does for you is, one, it allows you to really look at what is the root issue of someone's problem. And then secondly, if you use many different ingredients, then you don't have to worry so much about overdosing, right? You don't have to worry so much about, everybody's body has different tolerability levels. And so as you add more vitamin C, as you add more vitamin D, as you add more CBD, you're going to then go into a realm in which you may have some adverse reaction. So my philosophy has always been, first, forget about the ingredients. I'm not married to any ingredient, okay? I'm not married at all, but I'm not married to any ingredient, okay, right? And so the ingredient doesn't excite me. The philosophy excites me. So when I take a look at a formulation, I say, okay, so here's the deal. I want to help people to sleep, okay? But I know that you can't force sleep. You can't force. It's a highly metabolic activity that you can't force your body into. But what you could do is you could provide your body the best environment to get into a deep state of rest and relaxation so that it can then go into this highly active sleep. Okay, what is disturbing this rest and relaxation? Okay, I believe that the reason why that is that what do individuals do at night? Gosh, Dr. Wright, usually they're working super hard all day. A lot of individuals are stressed. The one time they've got some joy is in the foods that they consume. So therefore, they usually eat, high joyous foods, which are sugar and carbohydrates. They usually wait too late to go to eat. They don't wait the 2.5 hours, so 50% of the foods is digested and things like that. And so therefore, they probably have elevated blood glucose levels, which creates inflammation, which disturbs their sleep. Okay, that's one thing. Secondly, they live a fight or flight 911. Okay, and so they're triggering their sympathetic nervous system instead of their parasympathetic. And then also their brain chemistry is probably off, because the things that you need to actually set off the cascades for sleep are very vulnerable to toxicity. So because that's my philosophy, I then will formulate to that philosophy. And then that's when I say, okay, what helps with blood glucose? I'm going to go take cinnamon and cinnamon bark oil. Oh, what helps with the parasympathetic nervous response? Magnesium base. And so I won't go into the whole thing, but that's what you have to think about, I believe, as a real formulator.
Got
And
it.
most companies, you know, I'm not trying to bag on other companies. I'm just trying to say most people that build products, they're just like, oh, hey, Dr. Wright, you know what? CBD is super hot. And so it's huge. Everyone's talking about it. There's all this research. I'm going to throw a bunch of CBD in this tincture and here you go. But, you know, CBD is just one ingredient. Like,
Well,
what if there's other things going on?
well, and I love the philosophical approach. Obviously, I trust you because I go to you for this type of thing, but my patients come into me with questions and they're like, I saw this CBD stuff in the gas station. I thought I'd pick up a bottle, and they bring it into me. And I don't know what the heck's in that bottle, even though it says CBD, you know, who actually knows? Number one. Number two, you turn it around and it says CBD may be somewhere in the long list of chemical ingredients. I don't even know what the other language is about. So I think the thought process that you've described is very rational and scientific. We're going to go with what we're trying to do and put the ingredients in, but also it matters where you get your shit. Excuse me, my friends, but it matters, right? So how do we get purity?
I always say, you wouldn't buy your medicine in a smoke shop, would you? You wouldn't buy your medicine at a gas station, would you? Would you buy your real medicine at CVS and such?
But
no.
People do, right? People pick
do.
it up.
And that's because of the fact that they are, you know, that's what these companies are doing, is that they are, you know, basically preying on the vulnerability or the ignorance of the population. But here's the thing. This is what I really hate. They're preying on the, here's the thing, Dr. Wright. The things that CBD has shown to benefit, which I use this kind of acronym, I think it's called, okay, right, is I use this word pain, okay, right? And so if you look at the greatest bodies of research where CBD has been very beneficial, it's in P for pain, A for anxiety, I for insomnia or sleep issues, N for nausea or digestive issues, and then E, even though I know pain's not spelled with an E, for epilepsy or brain health. If you look at all the 17,000 studies, okay, right? Well, think about Dr. Wright. Those areas are the areas in which individuals are, number one, taking a lot of pharmaceuticals, okay, right? They're the major areas people are taking pharmaceuticals. And number two, these areas are a high level of suffering, okay, right? And they don't want to suffer. And here's an interesting thing, Dr. Wright, you know, I believe, listen, I come from a family of doctors, okay, right? I believe, I'm not against big pharma, I'm the farthest from that, okay, right? Here's the thing, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I believe that if you're a 7 or above, 7, 8, 9, okay, right? Your condition requires you to go get a pharmaceutical, okay, right? You know, there is value in pharmaceuticals at that level, okay, right? Unfortunately, for the 1 to 6ers, they don't have a lot of options. And this is why, by the way, the reason why I'm telling you this, Dr. Wright, this is why CBD has gotten so big. It's gotten so big because of the 1 to 6ers. Those individuals who don't necessarily need the power of this, but can't get anything else. So they end up using those pharmaceuticals. And then, unfortunately, because of some of the side effects, because listen, you know, they're powerful things, and they're going to have side effects, okay, right? They end up maybe taking another thing. You know, it's kind of like, first I take something for my pain because, okay, I can't really sleep all the way. And then all of a sudden I take something for my sleep, and it becomes kind of a gateway drug, as they say, or whatever. Okay. Right. And so that's why that, okay, wait, but to answer your question, Greg, you're exactly right. Here's the number one thing you guys got to know. Okay. At least with dietary supplements, there's some regulation by the FDA. Right now, there is not, it's sitting in a gray area, CBD is, so there is not a lot of regulation. It's between the DEA and the FDA. So anyone can produce CBD products. And I've got a whole host of them. People send me stuff all the time. They're sending me, okay, right? There's usually none of the third-party testing that you need to show where did you do your testing, you know, what is actually in there, where did you do your manufacturing, is your manufacturing done at your home, which literally I have seen brands in which people are getting out there that are done in their home, okay, right? All of those things you need to watch out for because of the fact that, remember, two things are happening. People are making a ton of money on CBD, okay, right? And so anytime there's a big green rush like this, there's going to be a lot of players. And number two, there's no regulation. So if there's no regulation, guess what? And you don't know the difference. Oh, am I really supposed to look for a third-party test? I didn't have to do that with Centrum. I didn't have to do that with like the cream that I just bought or the cough medicine. I didn't have to do that. And so it's not even in your head to do that. Well, in this space,
it was already done. People don't know that all that was already done through phases. So here, there's none of that. You just assume, right?
That's exactly what you assume, that, hey, listen, it's a beautiful label, Dr. Wright. Hey, they even have a doctor on here touting it. You don't know that's a doctor of philosophy, and it's not a, you know, right?
A clinical doctor.
I'm just saying, okay, right?
No, I got it.
You don't know. There's marketing. That's the thing with the industry that I'm in, is that you can market like crazy, and most people wouldn't have any idea, because we can make things look good. We can make things sound good. We can make things look so professional that you would have no idea that it doesn't have what we say that it actually has in there.
Well, and that's very important because, and I want to ask two questions before we bring Denise back and we have our Q&A. The first thing I want to ask is, because I've asked you this, right? You have a lot of pro athletes in your stable. My husband takes your stuff. We recently had a question about this for a pro baseball player. Outline for me the standards that not only the public has to have, but what you insist on for the PRōZE brand. What is that? It must be, you've already said it, third party tested by. Tell us how to figure that out, other than just going and buying PRōZE as a product, which you're here and my husband uses this. So that's why I would even have you on, is because I trust you. But what is the standard? How do we figure out? And then I'm going to finish up by asking you a question about pain specifically.
Okay, beautiful. I love this question. Okay, so for those of you that are going out and looking for a CBD-based product, here's what I want you to look for. Number one, as Dr. Wright said, you need to look for a third-party test. And that third-party test has to be easily accessible. Okay, right? Every good company has a buy button and right next to it, a third-party test button. You click on that third-party test button and you're going to see a test that literally has where that third-party lab is. If it's scratched out, you go look for ProVerde, you go look for Viaticor, you go look, and there should be a phone number so you can call them and say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm looking at this third-party test from you guys. It's number 47215. Did you actually do that? They are happy. They want you to call. They have the customer service groups that want you to call them, okay, right? And so you can validate those products, okay, right? That's number one, okay? And by the way, these tests, they're not expensive. It costs me less than $200 to do a test on my entire batch. So if a company is not doing it or doesn't have it, it ain't because it's expensive.
No excuse.
No excuse.
Right.
No excuse. Number two is that you want to make sure that that is manufactured in at least a GMP, good manufacturing practices facility. Okay, right? That is the minimal level. Okay, right? Now, mine is FDA and OTC certified, but the reason for that, like Dr. Wright said, is that I've got a high-end athletes and high-end healthcare practitioners and things like that. So I want to make sure I've got all of those certifications, you know what I mean, right? To triple testing, if you will, okay, right? That's number two. Number three, hey, listen, make sure that on their website or whatever, there's an actual address, okay, right? There's an actual place, there's people. if you don't see people, if you don't see, founders, if you don't see management, if you don't see, other credibility elements, to me, that's a bit scary. Who's behind this company? Okay, right? Listen, if you're proud of your company, and I'm proud of everything I've done, although I'm kind of a face hog too, I'll put my face on everything. You know what I mean? I want people to know that there's somebody behind this thing. That's a really key thing. And then fourth, you know what? I mean, I think that testimonials are good, but let me tell you something. You can build out a ton of testimonials that you don't know anybody behind that. But if you've got people that actually are showing who they are and giving you a testimonial, okay, that's great. And then the last thing I think too is, I believe this in general, Dr. Wright, is that if you have a great product, you always have a super, as I call Nordstrom's way to give back the product if it doesn't work, right? And if you're not happy with it, right? And I think there's a difference of working and happy with it, because you have to allow your body to give yourself
take some time
and patience and stuff. Those are the things, Dr. Wright, that I believe are really key. If you, just a little thing, I actually wrote a book here. It's called The 5 Secrets That the CBD Companies Don't Want You to Know. And I actually wrote it a little while ago. And I just kind of talk about some of those things that people do. Like on Amazon, I saw people put, 15,000 milligrams of CBD. And I'm like, I know how much CBD is. It's $10,000 a kilo. There's no way that this dude is 15,000 milligrams for $26.95. Well, you know what they're doing? They're putting the total weight of the oil on their label rather than the amount of CBD that's actually in the product. And then I'm like, how is that guy selling gummies for only this much? And then I realized, oh, you know what he's doing? He's powder coating it. And so he buys the candy gummy, he coats it, there's no testing. And so these are the little things that people end up doing that you wouldn't know. And so anyways, I wrote a little book thing. Yeah.
That's adorable. You should have that available for people. Or you should put one page at a time on your social.
If you want to go on PRōZE.com, if you put your email in, I actually send it to you, a download. And anything on women's conversations too, if you guys want, right? But
that's wonderful. Well, I appreciate that 5-step process that you've talked about, because what I know about consumers today, especially consumers in the millennial, 25 to 40-year-old age group, is that they are information seekers and they will go do what you've just said. So I'm not a baby boomer, but baby boomers and even my generation do that less. But I do like that about millennials. They are information seekers and they will do all 5 steps of that. But in preparation for this, one of my doctor friends wrote me an email, and he may be on watching right now, but he is a interventionalist who treats a disease called fibroids in women. And he does it in a way that prevents women from having to have surgery. And he, like me, is very interested in not using opioids post-operatively. So with an orthopedic surgery now, we've begun, cocktail is the wrong word, but what we do is we take medicines that work on different receptors and use them preoperatively together, trying to eliminate opioids altogether. And so in some of my big surgeries now, instead of taking 40 pain pills, I've got people down to 2 or 3. So he's seeking the same thing. And his question for you was, what could the role of a legitimate CBD product be in postoperative pain? Or should we start taking it before to get into equilibrium? Is there a role for this to eliminate opioids altogether?
Yeah, so as you know, my co-founder is Dr. Jim Silliman, right? Sports medicine, orthopedic surgeon. And so the reason why actually we came together is because he was doing talks with Brett Favre on the opioid crisis, and CBD was one of the is the biggest conversation in regards to that, because of how much benefit that CBD has been shown with inflammation, with nerve health, right? With these different kind of, and by the way too, it's not just the CBD, it's also this set of nutrients called terpenes. And terpenes is what's found in essential oils. And that's why I'm a big believer in yes, I love talking about CBD, but I love talking about hemp, because when you extract hemp oil, you're not only getting CBD, but you're getting all these terpenes and sesquiterpenes, the same things that are why, for, 10,000 years, all of these amazing essential oils have provided great benefit, oregano and frankincense and helichrysum and things like, that can't be ignored there, right? Well, that's the unique thing, is that these terpenes, they act as neurotransmitters, okay, right? And they act as elements that promote greater potency of hormones, right? And this is a key thing, is that, what you're trying to do is you're trying to allow the body to work better itself, right? You're not trying to want to add things to the body to do its work. You want the body to do more of its own work,
You're
right?
optimizing.
And so
that's
why when you're
our capacity, you're optimizing us to the capacity, right? That's what we talk. We're optimizing your performance. That's all you're asking, right?
That's exactly right. It's like you don't realize how much that you've strapped or restricted your body's innate ability to heal and to get great health, to be able to regulate pain and to regulate inflammation. And so we had this wonderful testimonial of this patient at the Vincere Cancer Center who had a mastectomy, and her pain was so significant, it was like shooting pain, and she used our nerve cream, and just from, the bathroom, from the bed, it immediately was of great relief, because of the fact that when you're using nutrients that are working on various areas, and ours, is all about, nerve health and promoting nerve health, right? That's the very essence of pain, right? And then secondly, trying to make sure, that's why we called it nerve, is because the whole essence was the fact that, well, where is pain actually coming from? Well, it's coming from that nerve signal. And if you start to create this trauma in nerve, it begins to retract. Then you have less muscle capacity. Because you have less muscle capacity, you have inflammation. And so therefore, now you get all of this toxicity inside. So yes, I think it can be incredibly beneficial post-op, right? And we have a lot of plastic surgeons and a lot of cancer patients, and oncologists using it for post-op, type of things. I think that where it's great before is to deal with chronic issues. And also what you're trying to do is you're trying to build the body's own endocannabinoid system. And Dr. Wright, I think that's what's so cool about this particular ingredient, is your body already has its own CBD. It already has its own THC. Right. What you're trying to do is you're trying to give the body to produce its own, more of its own, right? Well, isn't that a wonderful thing where, okay, you're taking these phytocannabinoids, plant-based cannabinoids, so your body can produce more of its endocannabinoids, and therefore you'll have to take less. Imagine that, Dr. Right? I'm trying to say, hey, listen, I want you to take these types of products so that you can fire up your system, get it going, get it strong, and maybe you're taking, less of my stuff rather than what other people are saying, like, oh, you're going to be on it forever and you need more of it. Like that doesn't make it easy. No, that's not health, taking food, that's health, being around great relationships and sun, that's great health. Not taking supplements all the time, you know what I mean, right? Does that make
You're
sense?
hoping to put yourself out of business. Just like me, I tell my patients, someday if I can get people healthy enough that they don't destroy their joints, and I'll put myself out of business. My career's not going to be that long, but it sounds like you're going to do the same thing. If you had your
that's
way,
awesome.
that'd be great.
Yeah. At the very end of the day, it ain't going to be how much business I did. It's how many people I helped. And so therefore, hopefully, I did it without them having to worry, and Dr. Wright, what I don't like either, I was thinking about this, and I know I'm going on a tangent here. I'm listening to Ben Greenfield the other day. No, Ben, right? Like these biohackers like David Asprey and Ben Greenfield, right? Here's my thing about that. Okay. Right. Is that, you know, almost as I'm listening to this, it makes me feel that because I can't go get some of these things, okay, right, these peptides and these technologies and this hyperbaric chambers and all that sort of stuff, that true health is out of my realm. You know what I mean? Right? And I don't want any of you listening to think that, you know, right? Is that amazing health, you know, the vitality and the longevity and the wonderfulness of your body can be done simply by the free things that are available, which is number one, awesome relationships with great friends and great family and great things, great engagement with those things, getting out, moving, you know, circulating this amazing life blood that you have, and getting out in the sun. And, you know, that stuff's free, and that stuff is just more powerful than, you know, stuff I make, you know?
Well, we're about the whole system, right?
Yeah.
So listen, Dr. Lippman is actually, John Lippman is the interventionalist who takes care of women in Atlanta with fibroids. And so his specific question, Jeevers, is, my patients only need pain relief for 2 to 3 days post-op. What does he do to prescribe or get these, and how much? Or is it different from every individual, which makes it difficult for us as proceduralists? But what's the approach you would use? He only needs pain relief for a couple days.
Gotcha. Okay, so I mean, here's the thing. It's like, okay, let's say you've got the nerve cream or topicals like this, okay, right? And so essentially, I mean, fortunately for us, we have these single servings, and then we've got this full serving. You know what I mean, right? And so if you just wanted to use the product for a certain period of time, you would just, you know, we've got that ability for physicians to, or for anyone to have that, you know what I mean, right? The nice thing too, just by the way, is that I know that the same, well, I guess here's the deal. I don't know if they're active. I don't know. No, our product specifically is used for circulation as well too. And so that's why you have a lot of individuals using it to help to increase circulation, you know, right? My dad doesn't have any issues, but like he's 80 years old. And so therefore he's always trying to promote circulation through his body, you know, through his ankles and wrists and shoulders and things like that. So I don't know if that answers.
Well, I think that if I were going to approach it like that, I would probably use it. I might do a limited trial with my patients. The next 10 patients I have in the same procedure, I'm going to, you know, I would give them X number of days and see if in a representative sample, and it's not a scientific thing because we're not getting consent, but say, let's try this for you. And if you see a difference for the patients, then it might be worth pursuing or giving it to them as an option, because lots of people say to me, Dr. Wright, I am not a pill person. I am not going to take those narcotics. And number one, I say to them, on my watch, I would never prescribe enough for you to get addicted, because I would cut you off and we would have conversations. But number one. Number two, you will not get addicted on my watch, because I would never give that. And here are some other options that you could try, because they don't actually need a prescription for PRōZE. They just need to make sure, or PRōZE or any other product, but they just need to make sure that the 5 screening process that you outline is done, right? So I guess that's the way I would approach it. But I want to bring Denise back in and do
You're right. Just real quick on that too, is that you'll be amazed at, well, you know this better than I, but like especially at the pain centers that we're in, so many people are now coming in and talking about like, hey, you know, have you heard about this CBD? Is this an option for me to try?
Oh, they ask me all the time. And they ask me all the time. Yep. And I say, oh, we use PRōZE at our house. But anyway, I'm going to put these up. So look, everybody, my husband can't be here today, but Jeevers
his Stanley Cups are,
I know his Stanley Cup replicas are here, because Jeevers has acquired a stable of pro athletes who happen to choose PRōZE as their thing. So I'm putting his Stanley Cups here because he's out on the golf course, maybe with some of your other pros. But I'm just going to put this here so people can see, because I do thank you for coming today. And listen, I do not own stock in this company. I'm not having you here because there is any financial reward for me. But people ask me all the time, and I need to have a trusted source to say, don't get it in the 7-Eleven, get it from here, right? If they choose to. So anyway, Denise, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. All right. So this was really educational for me because I know so very little about this. And I have to chuckle because literally I drive in my town here and CBD is sold in like the video store, which by the way, how there's a video store in town, but the same sort of thing. I'm like, I'm not going to buy that from the video
We got a bunch of, we got a VHS place down the street too. Like.
Right? So I'm so glad that you outlined this was, and thank goodness you did, Vonda, because that was actually one of the questions that I wanted to tee up. I wanted to understand, how, what are the criteria that you would use to understand the best supplement? Because I did know that was not necessarily regulated by the FDA. So that was incredibly helpful. Okay, so my questions are, so this is available in all 50 states, right? This is available in the United States anywhere, not state by state regulated.
Exactly. The only state that is a little, in Utah, they like to just have CBD isolate products, right? The rest of the states, but they don't restrict you sending the product. It's almost like if you're going to sell products in a store in Utah, it's got to be a CBD isolate product, but it's sent everywhere.
Yeah, brick and mortar stores in Utah. Okay. So help me understand, how is the product administered? Is it administered topically, as an oil, as a cream, as a powder, or orally? How does that work?
Beautiful. They're in all different forms, right? And so you can take it through a tincture like Dr. Vonda's holding it, okay, right? You can take it in a gummy form. I've formulated a gum, topical. So all of these different forms, they're now in foods, and things like that, is that they, let me give you a little, obviously the most immediate way to get anything in the body is through an IV, okay, right? Secondly is through direct inhalation, okay, right? The third way is sublingually, okay? Fourth way is mucosally through the a gum. And then the fifth way is through the gastric, through just chewing the body, right? Yeah. There's benefits in all, okay, right? And then there's topically as well, too. The benefit is this, okay, right? Take it sublingual, topically, or whatever. It's going to have an immediate effect, okay, right? Okay. But it may be less lasting, okay, right? Because do remember, Denise, the name of the game is how do I get in the bloodstream?
Right.
The quicker that I get in the bloodstream, then it goes systemically throughout, okay, right? If you take it, chew through gummies or something, is that it'll be a delayed, but oftentimes it will be longer, okay, right? And so that's how you kind of almost
sustain longer,
right?
Because okay, got it.
Lower levels sustain longer. So in theory, let's say you took my gummy as 25 milligrams. Okay, right? You swallow it, you'll probably get less of a release over a longer period of time rather than the tincture, which has 30 milligrams, yet that's sublingually, so that's going to go right in the system.
Got it. Okay. Because I was wondering, like, if it's in oil form and it's a nutrient, as you're telling me, is this something that we could expect to see, in food and that be more common, right? Because like a lot of times, they would say the best way to actually ingest some nutrients is like eat the orange, have the apple, have the, the different vegetables. So would it be better to eat it? But I understand what you're trying to say about like, you want it to be absorbed as soon as possible, especially if we're talking about pain relief, in particular, but quite possibly for some of the other needs, you don't necessarily need the quick hit of it. So.
Exactly. And the reason why you would want to take vitamin C in that orange is because you don't know if the 180 bioactive components in that orange is what's allowing that vitamin C to work better. This is why I'm a big believer in hemp oil that has CBD rather than just CBD isolate, which just has the CBD by itself, is because I don't know if the other 250 other cannabinoids, the 300 terpenes, the vitamins, the minerals, all of that is work. That's what nature's giving you.
Right. They're turbo boosters. They're turbo boosters. Right. Yeah.
They're turbo boosters. They're accelerators. They're neutralizers. That's why you don't have to worry so much about necessarily taking something from nature and having an adverse reaction. Yet you got to be careful if you're taking an isolated nutrient, because here's the thing, all those neutralizers that nature knew to give you ain't in that isolate.
Right, right. Oh, wow. That is so good to know. I've been hearing even, like one of the groups that I'm on online is as a pet group, and I'm hearing about people who are administering CBD to their pets.
There is a tremendous amount of science right now in two areas, in separation anxiety and also with I forget what they call like loud noises. Okay, right? Is that a lot of pets have a lot of anxiety in these two particular areas. Okay, yeah. Right? Separate, like hey, let's go to the vet, or hey, let's go.
Not lately, anyway, for people.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's like, hey, why are you here all the time?
Exactly. Yeah, I can't jump on the couch in the bed anymore, right? And so that's why you see a lot of pet products, especially with CBD. You want to make sure that you start really slow and lower amounts, based on weight especially. And the three areas which I think you're going to find the greatest benefit with pets is with separation anxiety, with loud noises, thunderstorms and things like that. And then also with skin health. That's where you'll see a big, good body of research with pets.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And you're seeing a lot of that with pets these days too, right? Yeah. Like, that's so interesting. Okay.
There's also another side note too, is that with cats, is that you'll notice as cats get older, the number one issue that they have is kidney failure, which then causes them to have a lot of toxicity. Toxicity reduces appetite. Is they found that CBD has helped them to regain their appetite and also to improve some of the kidney function. That's where the research is for cats.
Okay, cool. All right.
How I know this, it's kind of weird because I don't have cats, but.
Okay, one more question before we get to the rapid fire round. But so there's other countries you had said. I think you mentioned Israel. I forget the other countries you'd mentioned that had been doing
Europe,
this research, doing this discovery. Yeah, like what countries are like ahead of us, if you will, in being progressive and exploring the benefits of this that we could learn from, if especially as Vonda had mentioned. I mean, I'm an information junkie, so I'm going to be looking this stuff up online. But where could you go for more research? I mean, other than this conversation here was incredibly informative, but where do you go for more information?
Man, you'll see the best of the best research coming out of Israel. And the reason for that is because the preeminent kind of like scientist, researcher, Dr. Mechoulam, is there. And in Israel, they do a lot of research in this kind of area, okay, right? And you'll see a lot of research coming from Germany, Australia as well, too. Indians are really good, but we're not a big fan of like doing research, right? We just use a lot of stuff, Chinese are the same kind of thing, is that like, you're like, okay, like you've been using it forever. Like, how come you haven't done any research? You're like, we don't really care how it works. We just care that it works.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to bang on Indians. I'm just trying to say like,
word of mouth over generations there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
they're kind of cool with that. They're like, oh yeah, listen, grandma said, so, you do it.
Exactly.
So you do what your parents say in our culture. So like,
That's right. Right. There's a good reason for that. Okay, so rapid fire questions here, and these get these kind of touch different areas. What is your favorite smartphone app to promote health?
My favorite smartphone app. Well, I don't know if it's an app. My podcasts are the best way for me to get knowledge, right. I'm just kind of listening to more and more podcasts from different spaces. That's where I get a ton of my knowledge, right. I don't know if that's an app though. I don't really, honestly guys, I try to stay away from my phone. I really try not to use it too much.
Enjoy life, right? Exactly. But I would agree with you. This, podcasts are unbelievable for learning and for getting exposure. I don't necessarily listen to the radio anymore. I listen to the podcasts. All right. So what has been the most surprising health insight that you have learned from working in this space? I mean, I recognize you're educated in this space, but What has blown you away having done this work now for a few years?
I would say the value of water. And here's why I say this, guys, is because everybody talks about superfoods. Every year there is a superfood. Acai is a superfood. Pomegranate is a superfood. This is quinoa is a superfood. Let me tell you something. You can live without acai. You can live without quinoa. You can live without kale. You ain't living without water. So, I mean, I can't believe most people are like, but that's a superfood, right? And I mean, here's the thing is that here's a food that is nutritious and detoxifying. I mean, think about this, guys, right? These are the two elements of health, is you want to nutrify and you want to detoxify.
Right.
So I haven't found any other food that does it better than water. And it's so, in theory, fairly inexpensive.
Out of the tap. Yes, it is very
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right about that. Okay.
I got a bunch of other small things, but that's the thing that keep reminding me over and over again. And just one other thing I know you didn't add, right? Is that, listen, guys, you know what? Everything in life is this way. It's about intensity and consistency. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. Your success and the time in which you will receive that success is going to be based on intensity and consistency. And I think that gets completely missed because, people want, the product to be the intensity, or they want the form to be the consistency. You are the intensity, you are the consistency. And when you look at the most successful people, it's not necessarily that they do the most inconvenient or uncomfortable things. They just do whatever it is, and it doesn't require a lot, with intensity and consistency, because your body is really miraculous. It's wonderful. It doesn't need a lot. It just needs you to do it with consistency and a level of intensity.
Oh, I love that, Jeevers. I love that. That's so great. That's so great.
Okay, final question. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh gosh, I would say well, one was to get married in college, but I would say that really the thing is that and the time right now has brought this more in light. Okay, right? Is that it's all about preparation. It's all about preparation. It's all about, I have this saying, you do what you can, when you can, the best you can, right? Take those opportunities in life in which you are given the environment and the support and the structure and that allows you to be the best. And it doesn't have to be all the time, because like I said earlier, you don't need to do everything perfectly all the time. But when you're given that opportunity to be the best, go be the best version of yourself, right? Because, opportunities like that don't come around, but a lot. And then, here's another thing. I'm sorry, this is another thing, and I talk about this all the time, is that, and this is a little bit culturally too, okay, right? Is that please be a man of value rather than success, right? Be valuable. Like that's why you learn. That's why you support. That's why you give. That's why you do all that, so you can provide value. Because when you provide value, you will be amazed at the opportunities that will present themselves to you. You will be amazed at the people that you will meet. You will be amazed at the things that you will have to do. It's because you just constantly thought, how do I add value? How can I provide value? And I think that, when you do that, and that's in your control, like it wasn't in my control to meet Dr. Wright at a conference that was not, I could not, you can't do that. You can't strategically do it. People try to tell you, you can try to manipulate, think you got to do. No, you can't do that effectively. But what I did was I just learned as much as I possibly could. And I worked hard, and I did everything that I could to give myself value that was then shown to, Dr. Hawkins, that was then shown to Dr. Tokish, who then said, hey, listen, wow, Jeevers, you got a lot of value to give. Let's have you speak at this conference. And Dr. Vonda's there.
Ta-da! That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a fan. I'm a massive fan now.
I know. Don't you love him?
I love him.
I know. Well, Jeevers, Sanjeev Javia, in case you're going to look him up, Jeevers to his friends. Thank you. I need to see you more often. We need to talk more often. But I'm thankful that you shared more than an hour of your wisdom with our audience here live today and on YouTube forever. But and I'm thankful for the pain relief you give my own husband and the sleep. So thank you for everything you've done, and for being such a great friend, and for joining Denise and I today.
Well, gosh, thank you. I'm so appreciative of this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Wright. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Women's Conversations. I'm so honored that you created this platform and you've allowed me to be here. And I hope that all of you, listening and watching and such, gain some information that allows you to live a better life today than you did the day before. And I'm always accessible, whether it's through the Instagrams or the Facebooks or through Dr. Wright. I mean, let me know what I can do to help, everyone's progress.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeevers. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See you, Dr. Wright.
Bye now.